this is here we go. Welcome back to the Problem Scream. I'm Matt.
And I am Todd. I'm glad you guys are here.
There's Todd.
That's me.
How you doing, Todd?
Thumbs up.
Everything's good today?
Everything's great.
Oh, it's so wonderful to hear. Hey, today we're not going to be on a rant.
Hey, I had some really good feedback from our last podcast.
Oh, well, you know what? Today is, let me see, it's August 15th, 2017. What is your feedback? Let's hear a little positive feedback.
I heard a good discussion. What's funny is you and I always are kind of like going, did we just bitch the whole time? Did we just yell? How did we act?
Right.
And people said it was good discussion. They liked the topics we talked about. Enjoyed hearing us again. I thought that was really nice. Mm-hmm. So just little things like that were kind of cool. That it was, good feedback that we enjoy doing this, and that some people enjoy it too. It's always good feedback. Oh, but yeah, it's been a bit. So it was good to get back in it. And I think you and I both agreed after and before, and probably throughout this summer, we're wanting to get back at it and just trying to find the time and make it happen. So it's good. It feels good to be back.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a little done with kind of complaining. Yeah. But some current events that have happened just this week has been the horrible thing that happened down in Charlottesville, North Carolina. Okay. This was really summed up well to me by a coworker of mine who just so happens to be black. That's not the real reason that this is important. Well, maybe it is, because we're taking it from his point of view, which I really appreciated. I had said to him, had you seen or had you heard about the terrible things that happened down in North Carolina? He goes, yes. I go, man, it's terrible that somebody just plowed through a group of people in their car, smashed into the back of another car, and then backed up and drove over more people.
Right.
It was terrible, terrible, terrible. I feel horrible for everybody who was injured, only because they were injured. Everybody chose to be there, and everybody that was down there chose or thought that things could get violent, right? Mm-hmm. So it was all their own choices to be there and put themselves into harm's way, because they knew you have a super neo-Nazi white supremacist group, and then you have the other side, right? And anything other than neo-Nazi white supremacists, anything other than that is a total other side. I mean, they are by themselves, full of themselves, right? But what he said, which was really surprising, he goes, you know what? It is terrible that people got hurt. But what's more terrible is that anybody thought that this was a priority. He goes, that's part of history. That statue, I actually support the people who were fighting to keep that statue there. It's our history. Why would we all of a sudden decide, you know what, I'm offended by this. Let's remove history. Let's clean up history so that nothing of history offends us anymore. He goes, I actually think it's really terrible that people were trying to remove part of our history. Do I like him? Do I like the statue? No, but I also don't think about the statue. It's just part of our history. So when you go down there, when you try to enforce this idea that it's offensive, so I'm going to remove it, what hurt worse? What created more problems? The statue? Did the statue ever reach out and bitch slap somebody? Did the statue get into a car and drive over people? No. What hurt people, what created more chaos, what created ill feelings, what created an unsafe space were these super left people who said, I'm offended. I'm offended by this. And we need to take this down. Why? Because it is creating hatred.
I can kind of get the idea of statues and monuments are to celebrate people. So I can kind of get the idea of, okay, is this something that should be celebrated? But I also understand where you're coming from with it's just history. And
again, this isn't me saying it. Right, it was this other guy saying it.
And I think it's interesting because what's a better talking point with your kids, or what's a better historical thing if you're a teacher or something than to talk about these monuments and say, hey, there was a time when this idea was a really popular idea. It's changed now because we think of people as human beings now, all of us, instead of just some. But it could be a learning tool. And I'm with you. I don't like the idea of whitewashing everything clean so that we can have this like pristine kind of thing. 'Cause I think it's important to, I mean, that's why you and I have talked lots about religion and our leaders of this country, the people who founded this country. It's good to know that they were just fucked up human beings like the rest of us. It's good to know that they made mistakes. It's good to know that they fumbled along just like everybody else. George Washington wasn't a perfect human being. Thomas Jefferson wasn't a perfect human being. They made mistakes, but that's a good thing. It's a good. I think I told you like back in the day when we read those Dan Brown novels when Christ was supposedly, an alternative way of thinking was that he was married and might have had children, and that really throws off the whole scheme of some of the religious parts of things. But for me, I was like, oh, that helps me.
Great. He was just a guy.
He was just a guy, but he had incredible philosophies and a wonderful, kind, loving heart. I mean, those kind of things are the things that impact me. That's somebody I could follow and believe in more than this. He's part of a trinity. He's three things at one time, and I don't fucking understand
he's
what
separate
you're talking
from me. I'll never be as good as him,
right?
Because he wasn't just a man. He was more than a man.
He was perfect. He was the lamb. He was all these things.
Right.
And for me, I understand the idea of having an ideal to live up to, even if it goes back to our historical leaders. But it's good to know that they're just people. They just made mistakes. And you and I have talked a lot about why people kind of get upset and frustrated with certain things. And I really think that it's like, we think that we're infallible, and we think that we have such high expectations of why things should be the way they are, or why things aren't happening to me the way I want them to. Why is my life not turning out like I want it to turn out? And we start blaming and pointing things, and then we really need to worry about affixing that blame. And then we don't want to take any, we don't hold ourselves accountable. We want to, blame on somebody else. And I get, it goes back to what you and I have talked about last podcast of all these words. Words have meaning and words have impact, and we need to be careful. But we don't have to be outraged at every single word that's said to us. And I think it's really important that we,
Jeez.
Oh, I hope Bruno Mars doesn't mind that I play that on the air. I'm talking about fallibility, and my 24 karat gold love came on. I love it.
Yeah, nice.
Anyway, so I think it's important that we realize that we don't want to whitewash everything. The idea of having a monument celebrating somebody who thought that black people were 2/3 of a person and didn't have any value and things like that, I can kind of see where you're coming from. But this idea that, yes, everything offends me, and it makes me feel like I'm just getting old. That's what it makes me feel like, because I listen to like Ben Shapiro, I listen to some of these commentations, and Milo, what's his face, that gay guy who's not but likes to be outrageous, Milo. And I can kind of see that they're just doing it he's doing it just to do it. Ben Shapiro is almost like a computer program about how he thinks about things. Give me the data, give me the facts, and that's how I make my decisions.
Right.
Yeah. And I think things would be better if I did it this way, but you don't have to believe what I believe. Those are just ways of thinking, and I think it's good to explore those things. And when you don't have the ability to have a discussion and say, this monument really bothers me. Why does it bother you so much? Well, this guy was a cock. He lynched people and treated people horribly, and
he represented a portion of people that I like to identify myself as.
We have one of the most incredible monuments in my mind in the world. The Thomas Jefferson Memorial is absolutely incredible, right? It's a 40-foot bronze statue inside the dome that he's in. It's an open air thing like the Lincoln Memorial, but it's there's complete granite walls that are all his quotes carved into the walls, and they're
we walked through that.
Yeah,
right?
It's incredible. And he had slaves, so what part are we gonna be pissed off about that? Do we diminish all the parts that he thought the human beings were not as important as himself, kind of thing?
Yeah.
And then we build this huge monument, but then we get pissed about these little things. I shouldn't say little things, but a smaller monument towards somebody who, was really a racist kind of person. But it was still a part of the history of what we went through as a country. And all those growing pains is what makes us great now. It's not the whitewashing of history and making everything, kind of vanilla for everybody so we can all just, can you imagine just sitting around and everything's just kind of like, okay. I like having the times where life sucks and it's a struggle. Fuck, how am I going to get through all this? What am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? How am I going to do A, B, and C? But then you have the times where you're like, oh, my life's pretty fucking fantastic because I got through this stuff and now I realize how good things really are.
Right.
And so I think that bleeds over into some of our politics and it's getting so
You got to have
angry.
some struggle. There has to be some kind of struggle.
Yeah, and I hate the term snowflake. It bothers me a lot.
Why? Because you're a snowflake?
Because that's how I would probably be labeled by people, and I don't like labeling people. And so I don't want to label somebody.
It's funny you say that. It's funny that you say I don't like labeling people. You don't like labeling people in a way that you think is offensive, but you will label people constantly.
About what?
Oh, well, this is a conservative person. That's a label. Here, did you hear about that reporter, the gay reporter? That's a label. There's a ton of labels that we use all the time, and the least significant label, which should be the most significant, is just the person's name.
Sure.
Did you hear about George whoever? But we label a lot. Maybe, but it bothers you.
I
certain
could be
labels.
splitting. I could definitely be splitting hairs, but I think that calling somebody a snowflake is like trying to get them to be pissed. No, I'm not. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm not a snowflake. Whereas if I say that's a gay reporter, or I say somebody's conservative, I might say, well, he kind of has a conservative point of view. There is an ideology and a way of...
Is there any way that you can just silence that?
Silence that? Do they have silencers on these things?
I don't know. I think maybe it's a feature.
I would definitely say that part of my thinking is conservative. And I think it's a point of view and it's a way of kind of compartmentalizing, whether it's politics or fiscal responsibility or socially, it can be conservative. It kind of has these guidelines. I'm not going to call somebody fucking conservative. Maybe it's maybe it's the context we use it in, because I definitely say conservative, right? But I don't necessarily mean that in like, oh, he's a conservative, he's a piece of shit. It's more of like his thinking about things is really kind of structured in a certain way. And whereas somebody might be liberal is kind of like, I'm all over the place. I don't really hold to one ideology. That could be taken negative too, but I think some labels are okay. But when I saw, and maybe it was too, I saw something on, I forget what it was. It was who's the guy, the British guy on HBO? John Oliver. Was talking about a media company buying up all the small companies that are around, media companies. So like, here would be Channel 9, Channel 2, Channel 7, right? So this company is monopolizing all these small little towns, and then they send out messages that the guy at the top says, we own you, you're going to play this message. And it's a very conservative message in the sense of, you're all a bunch of snowflakes, you all just stop bitching and whining all the time. It comes across really unkind and not very thoughtful. And my thought would be, kind of like, I guess Ben Shapiro can be a little over the top too sometimes, but he also just wants to have a discussion and not be shut down every time he wants to have a talk about something. And this guy kind of presented this, why don't you get yourself together, snowflake? And he's saying it to the camera, and it's almost like, I'm going to instigate or piss everybody out because I know it's going to poke people. Let me just fuck around with people. It'd be like me getting on there and going, oh, really? You white trash piece of shit redneck? I mean, I would never say that to somebody, but it's almost like goading somebody by using that label. And so I don't say gay because I want to say, be careful, he's gay. Maybe, that's true. Maybe I do want to say that because he is gay, he has a different perspective about what he's talking about. Like it's the black guy talking about the monument thing. He's black. He has a different perspective on the monument thing, probably because you and I, because he's white. Or because we're white and he's black. I had assumed that if somebody is gay and covering something that you would think maybe stereotypically he would have a different opinion about it, but because he's gay, I'm like, oh, well, if he thinks about it and he's gay, maybe that gives it more validity. Maybe it gives this guy more validity because he's black and he has comments about this kind of stuff. I don't know. I'm just saying that I think some of the labels are fair, and I think some of them are just to instigate and piss people off.
Yeah. Okay. But who decides what's fair?
Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, who decides that stuff?
But I was just, the reason I brought him up in particular, I think it's a good lesson that for all of us is we shouldn't assume that just because somebody looks a certain way, they're gonna hold a certain opinion. And everybody has opinions, and some are fucking stupid. But you don't know that that opinion is stupid until you allow that person to share his or her opinion with you. Because they might say something, you're like, you know what? That makes a lot of fucking sense. And I feel dumb for having acted a certain way, which is fine because we all hopefully get older. We start figuring things out a little bit better. I don't have anything figured out. I know we all thought as kids that we're going to get to a certain age and then we'll have it all figured out. And we're all still just tripping along, trying to survive and make the best out of every day.
Yeah. And I think we have to always, I teach this to my youngest, who's very quick to comment about things and not very thoughtful at times and can be kind of mean. And so I try to have him say, just pause for a second and consider if what you want to say to rebut somebody or to say something back to someone, is it thoughtful? Is it kind? Is it, are you just trying to, if you want to get your point across, do you want to get your point across where they fucking hate you because you're a loudmouth little shit? Or are they going to listen to you because you're talking to them about things and the things that you're saying are done in a way that makes somebody listen? Because the hard part is like, good example would be, and this is maybe on me, when I heard of that guy or heard you say snowflake, I did take that as I am a snowflake, so that pisses me off, right?
Okay.
So I stopped listening. So I stopped listening.
Okay,
so,
but I wasn't saying that because
I know that for sure. I'm just saying that.
Sometimes I do.
And I love it when you do that. It's just important to remember that the way we say things, if we really want to have answers, we really want to have productive conversations, and we want to have dialogue with people to understand each other better, it has to be done in a way that's kind. Otherwise, people are not going to fucking listen. Even I tell my kids, I'm like, when you bitch and moan and groan at me about something, I don't want to do what you want to do. I don't want to help you. I don't want to give you what you want because of the way you are talking to me. And so if you can find out a way to say, hey, Dad, can we go to Sky Zone this weekend? I've done this. I got good grades this week. I got to pass my tests, and we haven't been there for a while. Do you think we could all go and have a good time together? And I can say, you know what? That's fair. Yeah, let's do that. Or you know what? Can't afford it right now, but maybe later on we can do that. Here's a dialogue where everybody's getting everything they want and everybody's getting their point across. Whereas if he goes, I really want to go to this, and I'm just like, sorry, it's done. You're not going anywhere. That's it. I'm just not going to listen to it. So I think it's important as adults too that we have the same kind of capacity for each other to be able to be not have to, like you said, labeling people, but saying things so that people aren't defensive, so that it right away shuts down the dialogue. I mean, that's the hard part with Ben Shapiro. I didn't agree with everything the guy says, but I certainly enjoyed listening to him, and he was very clear and concise, and I understood his side of the argument and how I disagreed with him, but I also understood how I agreed with him, and maybe that's what's hard for people sometimes, where they're like, oh, so I kind of do understand where Trump's coming from. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with you going, hey, listen, this point of view, I understand, and I would agree with that. That does not make me a Trump supporter. He's still a piece of shit as far as I'm concerned. But guess what? That's a true statement. It's ridiculous.
I was having this conversation with a young lady before you showed up. And it mirrors a lot of what you're saying right now. But we were talking about homophobia. And my view on why some people are so homophobic, especially people of my generation or older. And a lot of this, I feel, has to do with when boys are growing up. I never heard anybody say, listen, just because you dream and you have a dream about something doesn't mean you're gay. Sure. You have no control over your dream. I don't know if everybody knows this, but you have no fucking control over your dreams. So you might be happily married, and you have a dream about having sex with Rachel Weisz. That's okay. It's a dream. You have no control over your dream.
Who's
it doesn't
Rachel
mean
Weisz? Who's she?
She's a really pretty actress.
Oh, really? Okay.
Really, really great. I would love to talk to you. I would love to interview you, Rachel. In fact, let me make sure I write down that I spoke about Rachel.
How would I know her? Has she been in a movie or something? I'm sure I know who she is.
She's been in plenty of movies, but
can you give me one movie that I've seen her in?
Let's go back to The Mummy with Brandon Fraser.
I would not watch anything with Brandon Fraser. Give me something
Let's
else.
go back to when you weren't so enlightened, Todd. Can we go back to The Jury? I think she was in The Jury. She was in a movie recently where the woman is constantly reinventing herself. Like she takes on a new name, she takes on a new career, she moves away. Just type in Rachel Weisz.
So you're not helping me at all. I'll ask the Google.
She's great. I think she's a wonderful actress. And in particular, the movie that she was in most recently, I thought was super unique. It was this idea that when I decide just to be Todd, because I'm not just Todd. This is just my,
Oh, I like her.
Yeah.
She's a good actress. Yep, I like it. Go ahead. So when you decide to be Todd, or
no,
Matt,
when I decide to be Matt, I said Todd. Though.
You said Todd, though.
I have to all that up.
We have to deal with that a lot.
But when you decide to be a certain person, and then that person becomes a father and a worker, and you're doing and a son, you're always following this certain like these boundaries start hemming you in, and you feel like you can't go left or right, and you just got to keep following this path. Whereas the movie that she was in, her character plays a character who says, I don't want to be just one person. I want to have many completely different lives in the life that I'm living right now. So maybe she was going to college roughly, and then she just, boom, disappeared. Nobody knew where she went. She changed her name, started a whole new career, completely disconnected from her family.
That's crazy. That sounds really, really bizarre, but it sounds kind of exciting at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. And then basically towards the beginning of the movie, I'm not going to ruin it for you. She comes back and she sees that there's a guy celebrating a birthday, and she's dating one of his friends. Well, she was also dating him when she was her first identity.
Oh.
And she just split, and he never knew what happened to her. And she goes to his birthday party. And she's walking around. This is like 10 or 15 years later.
She doesn't remember?
No, she does.
Okay.
And the guy is looking at her like, what is that? That can't be.
Right.
I think it is, but her story of who she is now is totally different. But she looks so much like this girl that I dated in college.
Right. So going back to what you were talking about initially, how's this correlate?
Oh, well, we were talking about, if you have a dream, right? Because the original reason why I started dumb was homophobia, and just because you have a dream doesn't mean you're gay. But I don't think boys get enough reinforcement that it's okay to have a dream. It's okay to have these different feelings. It's okay to act in a certain way. It doesn't mean you're gay. Mm-hmm. If you look at another man and you pop wood and you just want to kiss him, and this is from my buddy Tim, and you just want to kiss him and hold him. You want to run your hands all over his muscular body because wow, that just does it for you. And you
Tim
pop
is
some
just
serious
squirming right now.
Tim's just
he's just crawling out of his skin.
Tim's getting a little irpy.
Yep.
If that's what happens, then clearly you are gay. Does it mean you're gay if you like ballet and you're a boy? No. Mm-hmm. Does it mean you're gay that you like to sing in swing choir? No. But it's okay to like all these. So my point is, I don't think people have enough of that dialogue with young men. And when young men, especially of my generation, were growing up, we were constantly wondering in our head, oh shit, does that make me gay? Does that make me gay? I'm not fucking gay. I'm not fucking gay. And then we would react harshly to prove that we're not gay. So we would be uber masculine.
Well, and this is a good example. Have you seen Ozarks yet on Netflix?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got me hooked.
Fucking crazy,
Thanks, by the way.
Crazy good show. Incredible writing. If Jason Bateman and Laura Linney don't get like Emmy nominations, they wrote it. They were
the writers for it?
They weren't the writers, the actors.
Well, sure.
It's just so good. And have you seen the part with the FBI agent? How much episode are you into right now?
Like 4.
4. Is the FBI agent trying to infiltrate at all yet?
Well, so far the FBI agent has moved down there, and there's been a couple of scenes where he's getting head from a prostitute or from another guy.
Gotcha. There's a scene later on where there's a guy who has that same reaction. I'm not going to blow it for you. Excuse the pun.
No, I've seen that. I've seen the redneck.
Okay, and the redneck is taking him fishing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a scene later on.
By the way, you better not tell anybody this happened.
Right. And so that guy has that violent episode, but not because he is like, hey, I'm not gay, and he's reacting. He is gay. And he is like, I have suppressed this my entire life, had that persona, like you just said, I'm a heterosexual man, that kind of thing. He's got posters on the wall of women showing their tits and stuff like that in his trailer.
Yeah.
And he has that violent reaction because he is not comfortable with who he is yet. And so you have that reaction. So that when you said that, I was like, that's exactly what this guy is like. I'm suppressing who I am, and now I'm being given an open door to be who I am.
Right.
But I'm still resisting it, but I'm being dragged through it, you know?
Right. But the reason why we brought this up initially was to show the correlation between... Right. I don't want to agree with anything Trump says because I don't want to be recognized as a Trump supporter. I don't want to like the ballet because I don't want to be associated with gays. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that these ways of thinking are very similar, and they're and what the other thing that I think is that goes along with this is the immaturity.
Well, you also are. I mean, you don't just fucking know this stuff. You are taught this stuff. You see it in society, and you're taught. I was just telling my lady the other night, I remember being really homophobic, and she goes, "You were homophobic?" I was like, "Yes." I remember my mom telling me when I was a very young teenager, 12, 13, could be anything you want in this world. Just don't be gay. I would listen to music, and I'd listen to Barry Manilow or hear a Bee Gees song and liking it, and her going, "Oh, come on, those guys are so gay. You don't want to be listening to that music." I remember her telling me those things. So as I became an adult, I had to start realizing for myself, is it really, what's the big deal? If somebody loves somebody else, why is that such a big deal? But I still had to battle, whether it's an internal dialogue or it's what my parents had showed me or taught me, that's what I had to battle with, and I was never out beating people up or calling people names, but inside I thought it was not a good thing to be gay. And that's the only thing I know that from is my mother. Otherwise, nobody else has ever talked to me about gay things ever, besides maybe society. But I came up before social media and fucking internet and all that kind of stuff.
I don't remember my father, and I'm sure he probably said it at one point or another. I'm sure he probably said, just don't be gay. I'm sure he said something like that. But what I do remember my dad saying is, I don't care how many women you screw, just don't get them pregnant. What? I can't control that. I mean, yeah, I can try. I can make sure I wear a condom.
Right.
But the idea that I have control over any sperm that get past my safe sex practices, it's kind of beyond me. Can't do it. Can't do anything about that.
Well, and it's also
just don't get her pregnant.
It's also a guy thing too. You know what I mean? It goes back to the whole thing. If a guy, likes having sex and has lots of girlfriends and sleeps with people and sleeps around, he's a fucking king, man.
Stud.
Yep. If a girl does that, she's a fucking slut or a whore.
A hewer.
It's the same thing. I mean, it's the same. It's just it's an imbalance of what we're able to accept and we're not to accept, And I think it's important to make sure you recognize those things because whether we like it or not, we have that narrative in our head.
Yeah.
That, oh, she liked having sex a lot? Fuck. It's her problem. I fucking, I had sex with all kinds of people. Am I a slut too? No, I'm not. Because I'm a guy, right? I mean, that's how it kind of plays out in society. It's really weird. And it's even worse now when it comes to social media. I could not fucking imagine being a teenager with a cell phone right now.
Oh.
Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all that stuff. I mean,
especially when future employers are going to be looking at Facebook stuff and everything that you put on the internet, it's going to be there. It's staying there. It's going to be retrievable later on. And can you imagine? I know you were just saying you can't, but having a record of all the stupid fucking things that you did. If there were cell phones and cameras when I was a teenager, no woman would want to date me.
I might be in jail.
Yeah, or you might be in jail because we did a lot. Mike McElmeal posted on Facebook the other day a picture of a young man, a teenager, who was trying to break into a home, and the security system took a picture of the kid, right? And so he posted on Facebook, hey, if you see this little fucker, and you've been having crime in your area, he might be the reason. I responded to that as I did, and I still do a lot of stupid things in my life. And I hope that if somebody recognize that young man, that they help set him straight.
Yeah, help him
because I went on a college visit one time. I went on a college visit to get a wrestling scholarship and an art scholarship to go to a university. I ended up being a stupid dumbass, and I stole some stuff while I was there. Ruined the trip immediately.
For everybody.
For everybody. We all had to instantly come right back home. And this was a long trip to get to this university. And that feeling, just saying it, just remembering that time in my life, it was so shameful, and it makes me about sick. And from that point forward, I've never done anything like that ever again, because you have to learn. Sometimes the hardest lessons are the best lessons.
Yeah, or you can do the opposite, which is what I did, which is stole a lot when I worked as a teenager in a mall. When I was in high school, stole a lot of things, stole things and traded it out with other people who worked in other areas of the mall so I can get free clothes or free CDs back then.
Was it CDs back then?
Still CDs, yeah. And so, I never got caught for any of that, but I still carry the shame around with me. Even though I didn't get caught, I now know as an adult that I was like, oh, God. You know, and so I tried really hard to let it go. I was just being a kid. I was being dumb. It was not a good choice, but you can't hold on to shit like that. But like you, when those things come back up again, it's hard not to feel shame about that kind of stuff, you know? But I think it goes back to what we talked about before. We have to be able to give each other some grace. You know, we have to be ourselves some grace. We make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. Hopefully you're not making mistakes that cause harm to other people. But overall, we're just trying to figure it out, and we stumble along the way.
Right. But with today's technology,
right.
and I do want to start, I want to get away from us preaching, and I want to get kind of into like a tech review and things that we've seen that just kind of blow our minds. But I recently saw a movie called The Circle. Have you seen this?
Mm-mm.
It's got Tom Hanks in it. He kind of plays
about it.
He kind of plays the role of what you would think of the guy from Apple. Not Bill Gates.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. He kind of has a Steve Jobs-esque feel about him, right? Mm-hmm. And you take that and you smash it together with Google, and you kind of got the feeling of this movie and who he plays. And then you have the girl from the Harry Potter series.
Okay.
What was her name? Do you have any idea what her name was?
Hermione, you mean?
Hermione, yeah. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
That's how I remember you, as Hermione. And yes, I think she's watching this video right now. Anyway, Hermione goes to work for Tom Hanks, and she totally drinks the Kool-Aid. And the whole movie is about having no privacy anymore. And that privacy is actually stealing from other people. My privacy, having my secrets, means I'm not willing to share those experiences, those secrets, those views of the world. And if I'm not willing to share that with you, if I'm not allowing you to have that, then I'm stealing it from you. Right? So privacy equals stealing in this movie. That's how it kind of evolves.
Is it kind of commentary on society now kind of thing, or where they think we're headed or whatever?
Oh, it's definitely where we're headed. I mean, when you look at what we're doing right now, this wasn't even an option really 15 years ago.
Right.
Whereas now, occasionally you will see somebody walking down the street with their camera facing towards them and they're talking, right? Like Casey Neistat, something like that. Or, Jesus I'm
Christ.
Really sorry about that.
What is that?
Pepsi does that to me.
Minute 34.
What? I'm not editing this.
Ew.
34, you said?
All right, everybody enjoy that belch. Yeah, 34.
Taking notes. Anyway, we'll see if I take that out or not. Anyway, in regards to technology and the entertainment of this movie, I was really blown away by, one, how seductive it is, depending on how it's pitched. So if this idea
think
is
about
really,
Facebook. Think about Facebook. You don't have to pitch anything.
No.
I want to be involved.
With how when she gets this job with this Apple/Google idea, this business, The Circle, so many people are saying, well, it is expected of you to have a social media account and have all these different things and to tell us everything about you. And if you're not doing that, again, you're stealing your experiences from somebody else. Tom Hanks actually says at one point, my son has a disability and he's never going to climb Everest. But, and he holds up this really small thing. I'm going to use a beer bottle cap. But if the climber that climbed Everest was wearing this camera, my son can now see what it looks like to climb Everest. So why would you rob my son of that experience? It is your obligation to put cameras like this all over the place, on you, in your house, around the world.
So you're just documenting your whole entire life, and anybody can experience anything. So if I want to know what it looks like to be a commoner in London, I can hook into some gal.
Commoner from London. So this is the idea.
Okay.
The shadowiness of it comes when not everybody is partaking of this. Like, I'm preaching it. Todd, you should be transparent. That's great. I'm telling everybody else to buy my stuff and that all of you need to be transparent. But what happens when I become transparent? I don't want that shit. You know what? There's a reason, there's a way that I've gotten to the top. And if all my emails, if all my correspondence, if all of my thoughts, if all of my interactions with people when I was happy or sad or pissed, or I know how to manipulate the situation, I'm going to get right in under this, I'm going to steal the deal. If all those little experiences, all those human experiences were to get leaked out, you wouldn't look as cool as you look.
Sure.
Right? So you need to have some type of anonymity.
Yeah, that's right.
Anonymity.
But I guess I can see the seductiveness of, being part of the hive, being part of all those people. And obviously you see that inside Facebook, whether you're posting positive Trump things or you're posting positive Hillary things or taking sides on different comments. But I feel like I think I have been off Facebook for almost a month and I've really enjoyed my life without it.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I want to get back on, or I keep thinking, well, maybe if I get on to promote something like this, or to get on to promote something that you're doing with your company, something like that would be a good thing to kind of put it out there. Could I be that specific and that detailed just to hop on and just say, hey, check out CVO Contact, blah, 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 and then send it and then be off of it again? Not have it on my phone, not have it on my laptop.
It's like having one cigarette.
Right.
It's like being addicted to cigarettes or something like
agree.
that and going, I'll just have 2 puffs and then I'll be able to put it away.
Right.
And I won't be able to have another one until tomorrow. 2 puffs.
Are you talking in a British accent?
I was just trying to throw it around with something.
Come on, don't do that. Be you, Matt. But I just think I keep going back to the idea of I've enjoyed my life without being part of it, because I now realize that not only did it take up my time, it took up my thoughts, it took up my thinking. And I'm not even talking about being on it. It was like thinking about going to be on it and being like, oh, I wonder what so and so is doing, or I wonder how so and so is doing. Oh, I can check and see how they're doing just on this. So it's almost like the same thing you're talking about with this movie. It's just much more detailed and much more saturated with who you are and what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of not being on this. And I can see, aren't there movies out there where it's like the anti-tech people and the all-in tech people? And there's like there was that one with Bruce Willis where they're all in their little bubbles and they actually live in
I thought that was actually the best case scenario. And then at the end of the movie, they ruin it. Yeah. They ruin best case scenario, right? Because everybody's like, oh, you got to be a human. You got to breathe the air. You got to get up. Listen, if I don't want to be a man, and Surrogates is the name of the movie. If you guys all want to watch it, it's Surrogates. And I actually thought there's 0 crime. There's 0 death. Kids have surrogates, their own surrogates.
We all have these things too. We're just like, I wonder what that would be like. So there's part of me that thinks, I'd be curious to see what it's like to feel like a woman. But if I'm put into a woman's body inside this thing, would I feel like a woman, or I still feel like myself? But I'm just in a woman's body. I don't know.
You're right. And at the beginning of that movie, Surrogates, this guy goes into a club, a nightclub, and he starts dancing and making out with this really beautiful woman. Well, the real person is at home in his little and it's a big, overweight, disgusting dude, but he doesn't have to be that. He can be who he wants to be, and his surrogate is this really beautiful blonde chick.
Oh, I think it's been a while. Is Bruce Willis in that?
Yeah, Bruce Willis, isn't it?
Is he the guy? Okay.
Again, Surrogates.
I'll have to watch it again. It's been a bit. So tech stuff. since you talked about this Circle movie, I had a couple things. I like utility in the sense that I like when I see new tech that isn't like the latest greatest camera, thing you put in your pocket or something like that. But like they're now doing toolboxes are in these highly indestructible backpacks. And so instead of you having a toolbox when you go to work for if you're a construction or you're a carpenter, they have these backpacks that you just throw on and they unzip and fold down. And so you have access to all your tools. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they're made of Teflon. I can't remember. They're made of something that they don't
do you know
tear.
What the actual name of the product is?
I don't.
Because if not, I'll try to find it and I'll put a link in the description below.
I can find it. But I thought it was really cool because I just like the idea of things being utility like that, so that you're like, I'm just gonna go buy I'm just gonna go buy a toolbox and go buy the same clunky red piece of metal that we bought back in the day. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but now here we go. It's the Vito, just like the word Vito Pro Pack PAC Tech heavy duty tool bag.
So the Vito Pro Pack.
You got it. Yep, and it's awesome. It's got a hard rubber bottom, so your screwdriver's not going to poke through it. You can have drill bits on drills and not going to puncture it. Huh. And it's easier to carry around. Everything's organized really well because it has to be so compact to be on your back. And I just think utility like stuff that has utility like that, I think is really cool because it kind of like flips the script a little bit. Instead of me going, I'm a Menards guy and I like going to Menards and I look at the toolbox and go, oh, that's really cool. And then I see that and I'm like, fuck, why would I buy a toolbox and I can have this thing? I can throw it on my back whenever I need to. If I need to go out to the backyard and work on something, I throw the backpack on and walk out and I have everything I need. Yeah. It's just a different toolbox. That's all. I don't know why I get excited about stupid shit.
No,
like that.
I think it's cool. I think it's fine that you do. And my only idea is the only downside to this is sometimes we put so much effort into reinventing the fucking wheel, there was nothing wrong with it.
Right.
So why are you charging me more money to get another project that worked just as fine as the last product? And as an example, the first thing that jumps into my mind is like Windows 7, Windows 8, XP, Windows 9, Windows 10, Word. Like when Microsoft Word comes out all the time, you're like, hey, you got to have the new updated version of Microsoft Word. Really? I'm just trying to type this fucking thing. How often do I use Microsoft Word anyway?
Right.
Why do you need to fucking reinvent this goddamn wheel of Microsoft Word? Give it a fucking break. You can type. You can edit. And done.
Right.
And there you go. So, I mean, those are examples of things I hate when they reinvent those wheels. But there's definitely things where, in particular, because of vlogging, because of YouTube, major camera manufacturers are listening to these really popular YouTubers, and they're going, okay, where is the market right now? The career of the pro photographer career is crashing because of the technology that's out there. There's so many people that can take really great photos at any time because there wasn't cameras on phones.
And good fucking
cameras on phones, right? Mm-hmm. So you can still take an average really good picture with your phone. There's only like a few that you really want to have like a professional photographer take. I mean, shit, people are taking graduation pictures with cell phones now instead of going to a professional photographer. Are there sports photographers? Is there still a need for a professional photographer? Sure. But
it's a much finer niche than it even was before.
Right, but the expanding field is the YouTubers. It's these people that are walking around going, okay, this was the product that was available to me a few years ago, and it was fine, but what did I really need? What do we really need as YouTubers? All right, well, I would really like something that I can put a different lens on, right, that can zoom in and out, gives me a depth of field, gives me a flip out screen so I can see myself to make sure that I'm in frame easily, something that has a good battery, something that is small and compact and lightweight. And if you're able to, and because major camera manufacturers were listening to these people, high-end professional cameras are drastically changing how they interact, how they're made, the shape of them, the software involved inside of them, because now one of the drawbacks was if you have a professional camera, taking a picture and sharing it right away wasn't happening. You'd have to take the memory stick out, put it in your laptop, and blah, blah, blah.
Now you can just Bluetooth shoot it, can't you?
Right. Whereas that was the major appeal to smartphones with cameras, is that I can take a photo, Snapchat it or whatever, and I can instantly share it. So if you had a major high-end professional camera and you could live stream, if you could Facebook live stream with that camera, just like you can your phone, how much better is production going to be? How much more useful is that going to be if that's your career? So that's the other end of the spectrum of reinventing the wheel. So that's kind of how I look at these products. Are you listening to the consumer? Is it a complete redo? And oh my God, that fits so many needs now. Or is it Microsoft Word 27?
Right. And this goes to my next one. I can't remember the name of the drone. I'm sorry, I forgot what it was. But I think that's a perfect example of what you're talking about, because drone manufacturers have adjusted how drones are made and used in the last 5 years. Since we started doing this, back in the day, you and I were talking, you were talking about getting a drone. Right. How neat it would be if you were able to do all your production stuff with a drone. Mm-hmm. Even back then, a high-end drone was a fucking monstrous thing that took parts and all these little things to do and put together, and it had a case and all kind of stuff. Now, you open up a fucking an eyeglass box, and you take this thing out and you click the wings out and you throw it in the air, and it just fucking hovers until you're ready to go.
Sure.
And so it's it's hands off.
I think is that the selfie drone? It might be like a selfie.
Oh, maybe it is a selfie drone. I can't remember. This is not the one that I saw, because the one I saw was different. But it just is interesting. I think it's a good example of what you just talked about, is that everybody's going, oh, but it takes me so long to get it out and get it ready to go. How can we change that? Oh, right. We'll click all the things on. You just open it up and click them into place, and you're ready to go. Well, then I got to try to learn how to make it hover and make it do all these things. And it's fucking hard with my phone. I don't get it. Okay, we won't worry about that. Throw it in the air, and it just hovers and waits for you.
Right.
And it won't wreck.
Now you know the big controversy is the FDA.
Right.
Right. So now if you're using a drone to, get or to make money, to do really high professional camera shots, or if you're going really high and you're getting real scenic views of the city above the cloud ceiling, the FDA is like, hey, you need a pilot's license. Okay. As a drone manufacturer, how do we now change how drones are flown so that we can get around this new law? So some people were making drones. There was a couple of different renditions of a drone that you had a leash, basically. You had a handle with a wire, a cable that went to the drone, and the drone would still be like 20, 30 feet away from you. But you could control what it was doing by the leash, by the end of the leash.
Because it being connected to you somehow made it not a drone anymore or something?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
It made it so that obviously a drone couldn't go hundreds of feet up in the air and crash into a plane that's flying by. Right. And that's, I think, what the FDA is the most concerned about, is because there are YouTube videos of drones being so high in the air, and you see a plane right by it, and then the drone falls and crashes.
Well, some of those, we were joking the other night, my lady got hit in the face by, no, it wasn't her, by a cicada. It just happened to kind of fly by.
Oh, a bug.
A bug, yeah. So if you're from Iowa, cicadas are these big, huge insects. And it hurt. Like, it hit her in the face and bounced off and hit her in the forehead. Like, it hurt really bad.
Did it cut her skin?
No, it didn't cut her skin.
Is she a snowflake?
But it kind of made it puffy, It wasn't that big of a deal. But then I, of course, what I thought of was like, God, if you just had a drone run into you, if it was buzzing along,
well, you've seen those YouTube videos of photographers using it for wedding shots. Right? Oh, you haven't seen that? I'll send you a couple of YouTube videos. Anyway, there's a photographer who he has the drone going, and what he's going to do is he's going to fly it towards them and get real close and stop. Nope. Zoom! Right into their fucking faces. Boom! Does he have the propeller guards on? No. There's like a montage. I'm sure there's tons of video montages of drones hitting people.
Well, I saw one montage my kids showed me, which was of fails by drones falling from the sky, and some of them were those really big drones, and they just miss creaming people. They're falling dead weight out of the sky, and they just miss landing on people, and they would really, really hurt somebody.
Well, allegedly, that was the biggest problem with the GoPro drone. Is that the GoPro drone was the direct competitor to the Mavic, DJI Mavic drone, because of the size and what you could do with it. And you were still using a GoPro camera on the end of it, so you could get 4K video, but it still wasn't the same as a Mavic camera that was on its drone. But the GoPro drones, allegedly, I'm just going to keep saying that because I feel like I'm going to get sued.
Even though you own a plethora of GoPros.
Would fall out of the sky. They would just stop working. And can you imagine? Let's say you're the average middle class or lower class person, right?
Saved up all your pennies.
Yeah, you've been saving up all your pennies. And you finally are like, oh my God, I finally got a drone. This is going to be so amazing. I can't wait. And you fucking you lift off with this thing for the first time, and it crashes. $600 to $1,000 gone like that.
Right. And now they have them where, like, I saw one where I think it might have been the same montage. This guy was flying his drone like along the coast of the ocean, and he swung it around to come and look at him and be on the ocean, and then you could just see it going nose diving and taking it off, and he's running, and he catches it out of the air before it hits the ground.
Oh.
But now a lot of these drones just have a thing in them that when they hit a certain percentage rate of battery life left, the drone goes, fuck it, we can't do this anymore, and they fly right back to where you are, and it lands. Yeah. And I was like, those kind of things that take out that human error are a huge, huge thing. Because you're right. I mean, I can't even imagine spending that kind of money on something like that. But it does make you go, wow, I don't want to just wait. And how many poor kids or poor adults, and I mean not like financially poor, but just like, I just got this awesome thing for Christmas morning. It's like I had a good friend of mine who was, when flat screens first came out, so this is 10 years ago.
I love this story.
And he's hanging up a flat screen, and he has his hands too far down on the sides because it's light enough that he can pick it up and hang it. But he doesn't have his hands balanced correctly on the sides. He has them too far low, and so it tips forward, and he catches it on his head.
It starts to tilt.
It tilts him, right towards him, and it smashes on his head and spiderwebs.
Now, the way that you told this, the way that I took it the first time you told me the story was that, again, he had his hands where they were, and he's holding it, and it's slowly coming back towards him. He's like, oh, fuck, no. And it lays on his head, but the weight of these old flat screen TVs were such that just the weight of it on his head, that his head cracked and just psh.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it had a little bit of a fall when it hit his head, and it was kind of heavy.
Oh, so it just make me sick.
And then that was
especially with the prices of TVs just a few years ago. Yeah, they're fucking super cheap now.
Well, and he was like setting up a Wii with it. The kids were going to wake up Christmas morning and see all this stuff.
I love the Wii montages where people were golfing and boom, they'd throw their controller right into the TVs.
Those are the best. I like Wii montages.
My kids want a Wii again. They want to go back. They want to go back in time.
Well, now they're retro, so
and play the Wii. They want to do the Mario Kart thing. They love the Mario Kart thing. Whatever. I don't care.
To each their own. I did my Mario Kart days.
Yeah. Another a tech type of thing, which I think is really great, is the Tesla cars. Now, a little controversy with the Teslas. The Tesla 3, I think it is, that just came out, is the idea that, Jesus Christ, I'm blanking on the guy's name.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk had said the new Tesla 3s will come in at, you can get a smart car, he said. You can get a Tesla 3 for $35,000, something like that, right?
Huh.
But that's the base model. And it doesn't have the self-driving option on it. So in order to get certain things like longer batteries, bigger batteries to go longer distances, to get the idea of what we think we're getting, there's no way we can get it for $35,000. We had to pay. We had to spend like $42,000 or $45,000. It's not the base model. You can't just get a Tesla and think it's going to come with all these bells and whistles, because it's not. It was a little bit of
salesmanship kind of.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, misleading.
It's like seeing a car commercial on TV, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, fuck, that car's sick. And at the end of the commercial, it says, as shown, $42,900, and a 13.5 comes across the screen. You're like, oh, they were showing me the sports model that I like with the alloy wheels. And I'm going to go and get the one with no radio seats. And the crank down windows.
And the sunroofs that go from the beginning of the windshield to the very back. I don't know if I'd like that or not. Generally, when I have a sunroof, I always have it closed anyway. So I don't know if I would like glass, the whole top of my vehicle to be glass.
It has to be a little shaded. Like, it'd have to have a little tint to it so it wasn't just glaring in there because it gets hot.
I got a bald head.
It gets hot.
I don't want to get sunburnt. That's a bad deal. But anyway, also with the tech of the Tesla, these self-driving cars that we're all kind of fascinated with, is the idea that assholes are going out of their way to show you the shortcomings of these self-driving cars, to where people will hit their brakes or they'll swerve to get the Tesla to react.
Yeah.
And then the Tesla overreacts. Because its sensors are thinking that something's coming in front of it, which maybe you just jerked it a little bit, or maybe you hit your brakes, and then the Tesla overreacts, and then people are like, well, see, this fucking thing isn't. So we need to have its own lane. We need to have roads that only have smart vehicles available to ride on it, because human drivers are dickheads, and they're going to try to fuck up the Tesla automated car driving.
Right. What'd be good about that, though, is if you get, I know they're having automated trucks now, too. So, or they're trying to push automated trucking. It'd be good to have a designated lane, because that way you could go faster than the speed limit. They could have, it could almost be like a rail system in a way for self-driving automatic cars. You could go faster than everybody else because you're not having, the reason why we have speed limits is because of human error. And so if you can eliminate human error and you're on a single lane that's just automated trucks and automatic cars, and usually they have, aren't there still drivers in automatic trucks? Or are they shipping?
I have no idea.
Either do I. I just heard about it recently, but at least you had one
over in Australia, right? That's where it's popular.
That's where it's starting, kind of.
Right, and I have, of course, because I've seen Logan. I'm thinking of those semi-trailers.
I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen the movie?
Sorry.
So there's a scene in the movie where they're trying to get across the road, or they're trying to drive in these automated semi-trailers. There's no cab. There's nothing up front. Okay. It's just the container itself on its wheels that's driving.
Huh.
So you have all these things just driving. I wonder if it's like that, or...
Isn't that funny? Because my assumption is that you would still have a truck-looking kind of body driving this thing, but why would you need that if there's nobody in it?
I don't know. I have no idea what the Australian version
It would make more sense, though, to have the trailer itself just on a set of wheels going down the road with the electronics built into the frame or something, instead of having a cab when there's no one to have a cab for. I'm thinking very linear in my thinking about, like, it's a automated car, so I still have a cab to sit in. That makes sense. But if you're shipping goods across the country, do you still need a person in it, or can you just ship the goods across in an automated car or a truck?
Think of all the jobs that are gone because of that.
Well, we've all had to be re-educated at some point. I've had a shit ton of jobs in my life.
Yeah, but that was because you were stupid and lazy.
Well, partly. But... I wanted the easy way out, but it just didn't work.
All right, I'm going to make a little note. Australian self-driving trucks.
All right. So I saw another thing, too, that these you can buy now. These are helmets, motorcycle helmets that you buy, and they look kind of cool. They're not like anything crazy cool. But when you put the visor down, it gives you a digital display.
A HUD?
And you can buy
Heads-up display?
You can buy them, and they are linked to your smartphone. And so it links to Google Maps. I can't remember the name of it either. Sorry. It links to Google Maps on your smartphone, which you usually have on you. And it doesn't pull up a map in front of you, but it gives you intersections. It lets you know heads up about what's, if there's cars in the intersections, things like that.
That's pretty fucking cool.
It's neat, but you would think it makes sense, because if it just has to kind of sync up with your phone, and you have Google Maps on there, or it needs to look ahead of you a little ways to kind of give you a heads up. I mean, like, most accidents are happening, especially with motorcycle riders, I guess, from what I've been told, is that obviously people aren't seeing them. They see a lot of people, but it's that card that just pops right out in fucking front of you. You can't see. And even if you had a couple more seconds, you might be able to swerve or lay your bike down so you don't get killed. You just get injured.
Yeah. You have to be a super defensive driver when you're...
Yes.
You can't just be a driver.
Right.
You can't just be a rider on a motorcycle.
And so
you have to be super
this gives
defensive.
you a little bit extra time. It's not going to solve all your problems, but it gives you a little bit more time. And I would think that the minute my screen on my helmet, flashes red or whatever the fuck it does, I could start braking immediately. So if I do hit something, I'm not going 55 or 60 miles an hour when I hit it. But they're really, really neat. And so the cool part about it, because now you can get online and look at helmets for motorcycle, and there's the coolest fucking helmets that are out there that are so neat. And so I think it's cool that I'm sure the tech will be able to be integrated in any kind of helmet you want. You
know what I would like with the idea of smart televisions and things like that, you can apply or upload certain apps to your smart televisions now. I would like to have an app. Have you ever heard of Watson? Watson is the damn near artificial intelligence that they had this computer play on Jeopardy to see if it could beat the other two guys.
And he plays chess too, right?
And he played chess, but now Watson. Did we talk about this a little bit? Okay, this is fucking amazing. If you want to talk about tech that's just mind blowing, it's Watson, because now Watson had this computer on Jeopardy. It played against two human beings to see if it could win. So what Watson does, he hears the answer, and it looks at all the different. It peruses the internet like that, and then it puts a certain percentage on what it calculates as probably the most likely answer, and then it gives that answer. Well, it won the Jeopardy thing. It beat the human beings, and it's already been shown that computers can beat humans at chess. That was done back in the 80s, I believe.
Right. But then they didn't. I don't know the name of the game, but there's a game where you have white and black little stones.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's supposed to be more complicated than chess, I guess.
Okay.
And Watson just beat the world champion of that.
Okay.
And it's some 35-year-old guy who's never lost ever.
Oh.
He's the king or whatever. Okay. And it just beat him too. And they're saying that this is a much bigger thing than even the chess and the Jeopardy thing, because it had to learn how he played and then counteracted that and came up with its own way of playing. So it wasn't searching the internet doing things.
And I'm going to do to you what somebody that I work with does to everybody else. I'm going to one up you.
Oh, awesome.
I'm going to one up you. Now they're having Watson. They taught Watson how to read books. Okay. So now Watson is reading and digesting every medical journal that is published every day. It does I think 80. God, I'm trying to think of the number of pages it reads every day. But there's no way that a human being can keep up with all the medical journals and things that are being published daily.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Sure.
So they taught Watson all the medical knowledge that they could, and now he's digesting all the thing. Now it is digesting all the medical advancements and tests and trials and things like that are being published daily. It's keeping up with it. So now they wanted to do a trial to where Watson is, they downloaded all these different MRI scans to Watson, and they said, this is a healthy brain. Okay. These are all healthy. No problems. Now we're going to show you unhealthy. So then they uploaded all these unhealthy scans. So now Watson, they're using it as a secondary, like when you go to the doctor and you're like, I think I'll go get a second opinion or third opinion. So now they, out of curiosity, they wanted to see how many times did Watson agree with that that person with cancer. How many times did Watson agree with the doctor with the treatment of that cancer survivor, cancer patient? And Watson actually changed 30% of the treatment for these cancer patients.
Wow.
Which was crazy because it's infallible. this computer is infallible. It's able to read and go through all these different MRI scans and pick out, oh, you know what? Human being, doctor, I think maybe you missed this because you were tired because you were fucking running 36 hours straight or whatever when you looked at the scan.
Right.
But I noticed that there's a spot here that you missed. So maybe the treatment should be this, because there's a new study that came out yesterday that maybe you didn't read up on. And there's 7 other studies that confirm this first one that I'm talking to you about. You're going to want to change the treatment. And they actually did that with 30% of the people that they applied the Watson thing to.
That's a third. I mean, that's a lot of people.
Well, actually, 33% is a third.
I know, but
I don't want to split hairs.
I think I know that part. I'm just saying that if you have 100 people, that's 30 people that were saved of different treatments.
But let's take this idea of Watson and what it was doing with the doctors and kind of shoot it out there a little bit further in the future. I would love it if we applied the Watson mentality or the knowledge base of Watson to politicians. When you're watching a political debate and Trump is saying a bunch of stuff and you're like, well, I'm just the average Joe. I got a wife and kids and I got a full-time job and I don't have the time. I don't have the fucking time because I want to be a good dad and play with my kids when I get home, or I want to fucking go to sleep or have a beer. I don't have the time to check if what Trump is saying is true, false, an outright lie, somewhat misleading. I don't know.
Right.
But it would be great, wouldn't it? If you're sitting at home and you're listening to a presidential debate, or your congressman or your governor of your state saying something, and as you're watching the television, the app that you've downloaded, which is Watson, flashes red, misleading, blatant lie.
Oh, while you're watching.
While you're watching, it's listening and can
hold
instantly
people accountable. That's
yeah,
a good
it can
idea.
hold people. If you're going to be out there and you're going to say this outlandish shit, it better be right, it better be correct, or it's an absolute opinion, which that's what this show is, an absolute opinion.
Right.
It's our opinion. We're not saying this is the news and we're the absolute right answer here.
Right. We're not saying we're the greatest podcast of all time.
Well,
in our minds.
I mean, we are.
In our
obviously. But that would be great, because you wouldn't have to say, you could blame it on Watson. You wouldn't say, well, this is just an MSNBC fucking slant from the left. Oh, this is just a Fox News slant from the left. No, go ahead and talk. Well, your shit's wrong.
Pants on. Have you seen the Factometer? They do it. It's not an app on your phone like you were talking about, which makes sense to me too. But it's called the Factometer, and what they'll do is you can watch the Factometer while they're doing debates, and it'll tell you certain quotes that are not true, and it goes to pants on fire is the
liar, liar, your pants are on fire.
What's that from? That's obnoxious as hell.
It's a comedian doing a skit, doing an impersonation of what is it? Robert De Niro? No, it's not De Niro. It's
it's Al Pacino.
Al Pacino
in Son of a
Woman. Because he always talks
Son
like that.
of a Woman, yeah.
Charlie, what's a bad man? Bunch of bad bombs.
I just watched that movie again. It's so good. This will kind of give you a rating. It'll be misleading a little bit, but yeah, the facts are kind of there.
But the thing is,
they all use it. Like they all use it, and now they definitely all blame it too. But they'll all use it when it's on their side. But it tends to be one of those things that people are really believing in, because the people that are running it don't have an agenda. They're not a Trump supporter or whatever. They're just stating the facts, and it started gaining a lot of traction in the last.
Obviously, because it's probably like bullshit, pants are on fire constantly. I mean, on both sides, because who really believes in Hillary? Not this guy. I don't believe in Hillary.
Well, I mean, you
bunch of fucking liars.
Yeah, and just shady and
just manipulating the facts to sound a certain way, and
Trump did a better job of it than she did. That's kind of how it worked out.
I still believe that the only reason people like Trump is because the majority of people have hated politics up to this point. We haven't agreed with it. There are so many things that we would want changed about it. The whole institution as a whole is fucked.
Right.
It's a quagmire of you cannot get things changed. And Trump represented to everybody a wrecking ball. He is a wrecking ball to the institution.
Sure.
good, bad, or indifferent, he's changing stuff, and he's highlighting the incompetence of our government and the silliness of it. So,
and to me, he's also kind of being that at the same time.
Yeah,
he's saying crazy outlandish stuff. Sure. Yeah, he's all wrapped up in it. And it's just wondering. I wish there could be like a presidential, whatever to like give term limits. You know how they say, well, they're never going to. Congress has to change that, and they'll never do that. So is there another way around it to say, hey, unless somebody
Watson? No, I'm being totally serious. When Watson is being used for cancer treatment, let's carry it forward a few years. Let's project out how often is this artificial intelligence going to be used? How often is somebody going to pick up their phone and instead of saying, "Hey Siri," they're going to say, which if you're listening to us on an iPhone, you're welcome. "Hey Siri," because Joe Rogan talks about how everybody's phones automatically start like they've heard "Hey Siri" and they start reacting
from listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
okay.
Funny.
Google. See, I did it to the other side too. So. But just think, instead of saying those things, you might be saying, "Hey, Watson." And it's a completely different thing. This is like an AI type thing that it looks at percentages and you're asking questions and it's perusing the enormity, the overall knowledge of mankind, of all mankind.
It almost have to be individual. Like you have to have somebody go, okay, I'm going to do a Watson just for, I don't know, global warming and climate change, and then it just learns all the information, all the data, everything, so it can lay it out for you. So it's not Al Gore saying it.
It's doing it for medicine right now. It's doing it for medicine, but what we think is a limitation because it can only do medicine right now. Who's to say that he only has to do a limitation? I mean, 10 years from now, it might be, I don't know.
It sounds scary
to the nth degree, an actual artificial intelligence. And does that mean that we need congressmen anymore? Does that mean that we actually, because when I look at people representing me, they can never represent me.
100%.
100%. They're looking at being reelected. They're looking at what they think, what their agenda is. How can they help out what they think is the best thing? Whereas you have a completely impartial artificial intelligence that's like, hey, listen, this is the treatment that I would give the cancer survivor or the cancer patient, and it's right.
I trust this machine. That's kind of a big step.
I trust the machine because it's not left, it's not right, it's not far right, it's not far left.
It's also not going to necessarily make me go through a bunch of fucking procedures I don't need. Some doctors say, I don't want to get sued. Let me cover all my bases, fucking flood them with tests and make sure we cover all of our bases so nobody can ever come back and say we didn't try everything we could and sue us. And so this might eliminate somebody going, hey, listen, I understand you want to cover
We applied Watson. I'm sorry, but we applied Watson to when you came into the hospital. And Watson looked at all your tests. We did run all the tests, all the standardized tests, which might be more than what we're used to right now. But we did a series of tests, and Watson looked at it, and this is what we came up with. It could be way more than that in the future. And part of that movie, The Circle, kind of touches on that. It branches into not only political and loss of privacy, but it also branches into the medical benefits.
And do you feel like you need to know every single thing a little bit about a politician to trust him? Like if he says, hey, you can trust me, I'm going to take care of this, and this, and you find out that he's got 2 mistresses and
no.
I don't
care. I don't care what they do. No, morally, I could care less morally about what people are doing. I could have cared less that Clinton was getting blowjobs in the Oval Office, and I felt I misunderstood what was happening at that time. When people talk about impeachment, no criminal act has to happen. Did you know that? You knew that, right? I didn't know that.
It just takes a vote.
I didn't know that. Just recently, that dawned on me that it doesn't actually have to be a criminal act, and that it just needs to be a popular gross popular vote. What's it called?
Yeah, if the American people were so up in arms about it.
No, not us.
Congress. No, that their Congress felt the need to do it.
Yeah, so. The Congress has to do it. They have to have the super majority. That's what it is, right? Super majority.
Yeah, so that's why it's really hard to get somebody impeached, because nobody wants to impeach somebody on their own side. Well, it really has to be, like you said, a gross kind of like.
It has to come down to, hey, American people, we don't like this guy. Let's just Let's just say it how it is. We don't like him, right? And we're going to make you believe we're going to spend millions of dollars. Because this is what they did. This is what the Republicans did to Clinton when he was in office. They tried to present it as if there was this huge legal criminal thing that Clinton did. He lied under oath about cheating on his wife. Yeah, there's a ton of cheaters out there that would never lie about that.
Right.
And they made it out to be this criminal thing, and that's why we can't have him as president, and that's why we want to impeach him. But that wasn't it. All they had to do was convince the supermajority of Congress to impeach him.
And how much money did they spend? They paid. Didn't they spend like $100 and something million trying to get him impeached?
Was it Kenneth Lay?
Kenneth Starr, I thought.
I'm sorry, Kenneth Starr.
Yeah, and I think I was like, wow, somebody made a lot of money off of trying to get this guy impeached.
Well, they spent a lot of money.
I'm sorry,
so there's a lot of people that made a lot of money.
And I think Kenneth Starr made a lot of money too, as the lawyer that was trying to get it all, put together.
So what's your overall feeling with technology? Do you have some more technology stuff that you want to bring up?
I thought this new gesture control armband they have, and so instead of the gloves like from
I'm intrigued.
Minority Report, and that's a real thing you can do now. They already have that technology where it sees infrared, shoots out infrared beams on your hands, and so you don't have to have gloves on. The computer just projects this, and if you have your hand in this space, you can do things with your fingers and control stuff because the infrared's picking up your finger movements. Now it's another language to kind of learn, so you have to, like, if you're doing certain things. System, so when you rub your fingers like this, it turns
like
things.
A nipple tweak. So when you're doing a nipple tweak,
yes,
when you're tuning in Tokyo,
this is the purple nurple move.
I know I've offended a lot of ladies out there,
but it's so that was kind of cool. But now it's a thing that fits on your arm. And it registers.
Can it be right above my bicep so that it
looks cool?
It makes my bulge.
Yeah, your veins pop out.
Yeah,
but it registers all the muscle movement and the in your hand, so that when you are wearing the armband, I didn't read enough about it, but it seems like it kind of can, from the movement of your arm, that it can tell when what's happening and how things should move, and so you can manipulate things again. So it's just weird though how sometimes I see tech and I think it's moving away from gadgets, where it's just you standing in front of, like, what is the Kinect in Xbox, where you stand in front of it.
You're the controller.
You're the controller. And then there's other things where it's like, oh, kind of straps on. Or I think about the telephone in the hand thing from that one movie. It was terrible with Colin Farrell. Not Colin. Is it Colin Farrell? It's the remake of that Mars movie. What am I thinking? Yeah. Anyway, so that was like
Total Recall.
Total Recall.
I liked it. I liked the hand thing.
Well, but nowadays it seems like that's gonna be like we're already moving past this. Why would you embed shit in your skin to do a phone call?
It was cool because he put his hand against the glass, and then that became the display.
Right, and I think that I could see them having a microchip in your fingertip, and that's what does. I know, but dude, it was back when they made the movie. It was 5 years ago, and they made the movie. That was crazy. But that just shows you how quick technology leapfrogs over the next fucking thing, to the point where I'm going, why would I want something in my hand? I'm not even a techie guy. I don't even give a shit about it. But I'm like, wow, why would you have a thing in your hand that you could carve out like you did in that movie, when all I could do is just go, hey, how's it going? I got a little chip in my finger and my thumb, and hey, how's it going? I could just act like I'm, playing the telephone game like I'm a kid. Yeah, but nobody likes that shit either, because you want to be a safe driver, right? So you don't want to have to take your hand off the steering wheel. I mean, if production manufacturers apply what the camera manufacturers are doing with YouTube, and they're looking at what is super popular right now and how are people using their products and how would it make it better, and you go to those professionals and you're like, what would you like to see? Oh, this week, I wasn't even thinking of that, right? Because my mind is making this product as cool as it can be, but it doesn't mean it's user friendly for you. So how do you use it again? Right. So I think there's going to be way more people trying to emulate this video vlogging type thing. I think drones help with that. There's like this follow me feature with drones. There's this circle corkscrew pre-programmed thing that you can do with drones. I think in particular camera manufacturers, if they start looking at how can we make this as subtle as possible, as smooth as possible,
so that people are able to document their lives.
Yeah.
Whether
user
it's gonna,
friendly.
Yeah, as long it might not even be for YouTube. It might just be for your kids. You know, you're starting to have wireless security cameras in our homes that are 4K or 1080p. I can be at work, pull up my phone, and see what's going on at home, and go and touch the button and go, "Hey, quit messing with the dog. Do your chores." I see the house is still messy. I see the dishes are still messy or dirty. Get your chores done. I mean, that stuff's already happening now, but to then take it to where it looks like it's not even there, right? To get a better picture, a clearer picture.
Well, and I wonder too if it just becomes like it's so commonplace you forget about it, because we're talking about kids on social media and not having a dick pic on their social media page forever for their bosses to look at, or see. But like my lady will be like, "Hey, the kids are all outside playing. Do you want to have sex in the kitchen really quick?" I mean, that'll happen. And so then I think it was the other day I was laughing because all I could think of was the camera that you have mounted under your cupboards in your kitchen. And if I put a camera in my kitchen and fucking forget about it, now I have some documentation of something inappropriate, And granted, it's in my own house, but it's like you don't think about
now
these
I
things.
can blackmail myself.
Yeah. But I mean, people can access that. That's the thing. It's always accessible. There's always a way to get into that. If I had it on my phone and I recorded it, I don't know. That's the thing. It's like, I can see why somebody would be like, "Oh my God, look at this girl's giving me the greatest blowjob ever. I'm just going to record it with my phone." Well, that's forever. Like, I don't even, if you ever pull up, I remember you pull up Facebook.
You're only going to be young once, Todd.
Right.
You got to remember when you could really pull some beautiful strange.
But if you go on Facebook,
oh, my
on
kids
your
are watching
phone,
this. Never mind.
on your phone, it'll show the most recent pictures and videos that you just took on your phone, and Facebook is asking you if you want to post these. So it has access to your photos.
Don't accidentally hit the yes.
Fuck that. That's what I'm talking about. So you don't ever. So the whole point is you just don't record things like that. Well, what's the fucking point, anyways? But I'm saying that's what you get caught up in. And I think kids are impulsive and they do stupid shit.
Sure.
So it's like, oh yeah, I like that picture. Boom, 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 boom. Oh man, is that picture of Susie blowing me in there? Damn it. I mean, that's the hard part. But I thought about that when I saw your camera upstairs. I was like, it's such a good idea. It makes a lot of sense to me when the kids are home. But then I'm like,
I can no longer walk around the house naked.
Yes.
When the kids are at school, I can't just be like, well, I'm just gonna walk in the living room, grab my smartphone, and well, I don't know. I really don't know what scenario is a legit scenario to walk around your house naked. But it's my fucking house, and my windows are shut, and my blinds are shut. I should be able to walk around.
Do whatever the hell you want.
But this is exactly the reason why I don't get money technology. I don't get paying for everything with your phone. When you have identity theft going through the roof, every year there's more and more people getting screwed by identity theft. Why would you make it easier for hackers to fuck you? Mm-hmm. Why don't you just go back to no credit cards, no paying with your smartphone, and cash?
Right.
Oh, nobody can fuck with me. Never mind.
Right. Well, I mean, I saw my kids and I were looking at during one of our we like to read magazines and then share the articles we read. And one of my sons read an article about.
Why does this just sound very pretentious?
Why?
Say this again. Say it again. Maybe I misheard you.
So we'll have
Maybe I misheard you.
We'll all read together. So we'll all sit in the living room. We'll all pick a book or a magazine.
Are you reading out loud to each other?
Nope. We'll read for a half an hour quietly. Okay. And when we're done, we all say, "Hey, so what was your book about?" Or, "Hey, what article did you read?"
Okay, there's some engagement.
So
there's some engagement.
It's called comprehension and reading, right?
Oh, man.
So
I like these terms.
You're welcome. And so he read a story about these guys who wrote 2 different new lines of code that helped all business transactions on the internet. Okay. So PayPal, Google Pay, all those things. These guys wrote this code to help the transitions faster because it was using an outdated Windows 5 or whatever you're talking about, right?
All right.
It was using an old outdated system, but it was so ingrained that they wrote new code for it, and it just ramped everything up. And these 2 guys are overnight billionaires. They had a company called Stripe Inc. Stripe Inc. They're now the 2 youngest billionaires in the world because just overnight, these 2 guys helped so many different things. And so it was just interesting how still you wonder the Elon Musks, the guys who got into PayPal early, or the guys who got into eBay early, who, you know, made a lot of money doing that.
Yeah.
On the edge of that new tech. What is the new tech and what is the new edge? And so it seems like it's the code writing, the coding kind of stuff behind the scenes and improving things is becoming the new thing to really make you wealthy or have a successful business, because you're helping out things that used to be the shit, but now they're becoming a little bit more arcane, and you're helping kind of boost them. And so these guys, one's 26, one's 28, and they just sold their company for $10 billion.
Well, good for them.
It's crazy. Holy shit. Talk about,
you know what they're going to have now, right? They're going to have volleyball. They're going to throw a game. They're going to throw a party. There's going to be a volleyball game going on with nothing but women who are paid to be there and be topless. But does that sound familiar?
People talk about like Justin Bieber making a lot, like I think Joe Rogan was just talking to somebody about it. He made $94 million last year, and that's a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not, but if you were a code writer and you and your buddy are 26, 28 years old, and the next thing you know, you each have $5 billion in your bank account, I mean, that's insanity.
Reality changes. I would have to, your world would never be viewed the same again. Mm-hmm. Oh, whatever pops into my head, I can just go buy.
Or I can do. I mean, that's the
That's
the best part about Elon Musk. The guy didn't ever hesitate. He mortgaged his whole entire business
because he believed in what he was doing.
He believed in what he was doing, right. And that, I mean, those are the kind of people that you're just like, God, these are the kind of people that kind of should run the nation, run the world. The ones who are really trying to make things different and change and better. Yeah.
I actually just said this to somebody today before you came in, that people like Elon Musk are super inspiring. They're super inspiring, and you want to be like them. But their chemical soup concoction that's going on in their brain is different. You have people that are serial entrepreneurs. You have people that are changing the world, and it reminded me of this movie, The Circle, right? Or Elon Musk, or like that guy, Apple guy. What was his name?
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. Thanks.
You should watch the document. You should watch the movie about him. It's with Fassbender, or what's that guy's name? That British actor, Fassbender. I can't remember his name.
I don't know.
But he plays Steve Jobs.
Yeah,
and he is
really good.
Fucking fantastic. I think it's called Steve Jobs.
Huh. But anyway, thanks. I lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
The chemical soup that makes up these people.
And their philosophy is changing how people do business. It's changing how, when I go to work, when I go to my other job, this is what I hear all day long. Well, are you being a good safety advocate?
Yeah.
What about your behavior-based safety form? Have you filled that out today? Make sure you're using 3 points of contact. Good for you, young man. Way to do a pre-job brief. Whack, whack, whack. Gosh, shut the fuck up.
And
seriously?
You hear that from people?
Yes, from actual living, non-automated people. Yes, I hear this. I hear this rhetoric. And to bring this back to the whole Elon Musk thing and serial entrepreneurs, I think that there is a chemical reaction. There's people that have OCD and ADHD that thrive in this entrepreneurial type of atmosphere.
On the edge, taking risks.
They're constantly on the go. They don't have, and to them, that's normal. And I'm not making fun of, I'm not belittling them.
We obviously need them in the world.
Sure.
Yeah.
But to take their philosophy and then apply it to everyone else whose chemical soup concoction in their head isn't working like that.
Right.
You're wrecking a lot of people's lives. I remember back in the day when my first wife, that's right, I've been married twice. I remember my first wife was like, listen, you have to be able to multitask. And that was like the thing, right? Early 90s, mid 90s, multitasking was the thing. And if you couldn't multitask, then you weren't really that employable. If you were going to get a job, you had to prove that you had the ability to multitask. Being able to multitask says two things. One, you have no life. And two, you're doing the job of not yourself, but many other people. There's other people's jobs who you're now doing because you're multitasking. And that has become the norm for industry anymore. People retire, people leave, they go to different other jobs, and you don't fill that position at a factory, at a business, and somebody else takes on the responsibilities of the other person. They're doing 2 jobs now, and you're made to feel guilty if you can't multitask. If you're not OCD and ADHD, and you're not driving that sports car that performs well on high octane, if you're the fucking Volkswagen Bug,
and you're happy being the Volkswagen Bug, you don't have to be those other things.
Yeah, but if you're not competing. You're not a good employee anymore.
Right.
You're not. Well, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you handling the stress really well?
Well, I mean, Michael Fassbender is the actor that plays Steve Jobs in the most recent. It's called Steve Jobs. It's just the Steve Jobs. But there's a Michael Fassbender version, and then there's a what's his name? Kutcher did
Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton Kutcher.
I like that movie quite a bit.
I thought it was terrible, but I thought Fassbender.
I thought it did a great job of showing his. One, I liked seeing Ashton Kutcher in not a goofball fucking movie, so I thought he did well in it. Mm-hmm. But I also like the idea that it's showing that Steve Jobs was not only was he thinking on a different level, like, you know what, let's try to create a product that is awesome. Right. Instead of doing the bare bones shit, let's put together a bunch of like badass, high powered components into this computer to give the home consumer a powerhouse.
Well, and Fassbender at the end of that movie, I don't think it was in the other one, but he talked about how your paper just
yeah, I know. I got to grab it, and people all saw that fly away.
He at the end of the movie, he got his daughter a Walkman. He's like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put 1,000 songs in a machine on your hip. And she's like, what are you talking about? And so that to me wasn't like, yes, obviously it was the birth of the iPod, but to me it was kind of like, it's that way of thinking. And somebody going, what the fuck are you talking about? Right? 1,000 songs in my pocket? What? But he just blurted out this idea. And then he thought, oh, I wonder how I can make this happen. Like, I mean, that's the edge you're talking about. Somebody making outlandish comments and then solving that. Because again, he had huge fucking failures. I mean, enormous failures, getting fired from Apple in the beginning, all that kind of stuff. He had huge failures, and he still was kind of going, what about this idea? And I still have this idea.
Bill Burr, if you want to be really entertained by this idea of Steve Jobs, he does a great bit on Steve Jobs. And he's like, really? Why is Steve Jobs held up there with Gandhi and all these other really important people? I'm not going to ruin the bit, but if you go to YouTube, type in Bill Burr, Steve Jobs, he does a great skit on it. And it really sums up the idea of what Steve Jobs was. He had an idea. He came into work one day. He's like, hey, I saw people reading a book. They're turning pages. I want you. Figure it out. I want to touch the screen. I want to do that. I want it to look like a page is turning. Get on it. I expect it done in 7 years. Nobody thought of stuff like that until he came along and thought of it. And then he said, make it happen. And it's a lot like what Star Trek was back in the day. People saw crazy, innovative science, sci-fi shit. The Communicator, right? Nobody was talking or doing anything like that. And then you see crazy shit like that, and then you go to, 1993, and you're like having these cell phones everywhere, and it was like having Star Trek fucking communicators.
Well, I mean, in my mind, the Star Trek communicator is still cool. It's fucking nothing compared to this thing.
Nothing.
It's
Where's my phaser? Where's my phaser?
It's a walkie-talkie. It's a really bad walkie-talkie is what that is. You know what I mean? A phaser. Yeah, would that be interesting if we all could have stun phasers? Yeah, don't call me a snowflake. Zip.
Zip. Take care.
I guess I could just get
take care of you right now.
I could just get a taser and zap you. I have enjoyed some of those. Have you seen some of those really dumb YouTube videos of the guys who are like, so this is a taser, and I'm going to show you how it works. And he's like, I'm just going to put my finger on it, not thinking that a taser shocks your whole body. Just because you use your fingertip doesn't mean it's just going to shock that little part right there. And this guy goes, he turns it on so it's going zzz, like that, and he goes, okay, I'm just going to touch the end of it. And he's on the ground. He's out. It's just like, and all of his friends are just dying in the background, like, you dumb fucker. And plus, it's dangerous. It can stop your heart. You have to be very careful with those things. But it's just like,
oh, really? Yeah, just playing.
It's just electricity in your heart when you're made of electricity.
You know what I think is weird? And I'm probably wrong. So you can leave it in the comments below. By the way, I'm going to say it now instead of at the end. Like, subscribe, share. Hit the thumbs up button or the thumbs down and tell me why it sucked. Our video when it's on YouTube. Anyway, next. I think it's just weird. And correct me if I'm wrong, but are we the only animal on this fucking planet that can't defend itself? Like we don't have claws. We don't have something that juts out. I don't spray
shit out of your ass.
I don't have a bunch of attackers coming at me, and I'm like, oh wait, turn around and spraying with horrible stinky shit.
Fangs or horns
yeah, we don't have things like my neck doesn't line up with my head when I do that, and I ram into somebody. Are we the only fucking delicate flower? I mean, humanity is a snowflake on this earth.
Yeah, we're really kind of a soft, squishy, tasty.
I mean, can you imagine how different life would be if everybody was just walking around like, I know you're not going to fuck with me because I have this thing that shoots out of my hand and is going to fucking kill you.
Right.
And I'm not this delicate little flower.
Mm-hmm. What was your point?
I was just trying to make a point that we are the only animals on this. Like, we interact differently.
Oh, I was talking about weaponry, and you were saying we don't have any way of really protecting ourselves unless we have a weapon.
Yeah, I just think that's kind of shocking that we're the only animal. Like, we don't have porcupine spines.
Yeah, what part of evolution did we lose?
Elephants at least have like skin that's what a foot thick.
Oh, they have fucking tusks. Jesus
and
Christ.
Tusks.
Yeah. But you're right. We don't have anything. We're all, even if you're big and strong and muscular, it doesn't do anything.
You know what the nerds say? Huh. Or the really snooty people say?
What's that?
We have our brains.
Oh.
We have our brains. We outthink others.
You're so gross.
That's what separates us, Matt, from the animal kingdom.
I'm not sure. Brains. I don't know if it's the sounds you make or the look on your face that is so horrible. I don't know whether they're equally as bad. I can't decide. Yeah, that's so... I'm just going to put my hand like this. This is gross. I'm not going to watch anymore.
It's our brains, Matt.
Oh, now I can see you on the camera screen. That doesn't help at all.
Hey, can we wrap it up? Did you have anything else that you really want to talk about?
No, that was it for my tech stuff, I think, because I was just... because I don't necessarily go after these things and look at it, but when you're like, hey, let's do techie stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. And I do, I love Popular Science, one of my absolute favorite magazines of all time. And they always have something cool in there.
I'm a little pissed that we don't have flying cars.
Yeah.
That's some bullshit.
It's interesting, too, how technologies really seem to take off when the military gets involved.
Sure.
And then it was like, oh, here's a really cool, not everything, but a cool piece of tech. And the military goes, oh, we can fucking use that. They take it, they utilize it right away with the money that they have to be able to invest in that, and then it filters back to civilians.
It's all about money that goes into R&D.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, well, R&D is huge.
I think the only thing that's surpassing the military stuff now is, like I said, online users. And product manufacturers looking at online users and saying, oh, shit, this person has how many views? I mean, YouTube and the internet... specifically YouTube, has changed so much when you have a couple of ding-dongs.
Oh, those stupid kids that rap horribly like that?
Yes, and I don't want to say their names.
Good, don't do
one,
it.
I don't remember them completely.
Two, it's fucking dumb.
And two, it's dumb. But they've taken over YouTube. I mean, they're not taken over, but they're getting more downloads than anybody else on YouTube. And... product manufacturers, they're looking at that and going, oh my God, 10 million views this month or more. I'm sure that's a
Could you
small
imagine that? Let's throw those kids some Hurley shorts to wear while he's in there and 10 million people see it.
Let's see how they use this product and if they like it or what they don't like about it. And 10 million people are going to see that. You know what I mean? It's not, I think this idea of product development is surpassing the military spending because... there was plenty of times in the military where I would hear stories of people that worked at a specific base and they would actually trial all the new gadgety shit, which one I would think would be kind of cool, but two, you're carrying around batteries that were like
stupid shit.
Yeah. Really uncomfortable shit. Anyway, I think the new technology in YouTube is really taking over that.
Well, and it's because I don't even think I know I don't have to say I think I don't even grasp that. We used to say like, oh, the Super Bowl had 100 million people watching it last night, kind of thing, right? And now it's like these dumb kids, and I'll just call them dumb kids because they are just dumb kids who haven't grown up yet, and they do stupid shit on YouTube, and they have hundreds of millions of views,
Yeah.
like over time on all their videos. You add it all up.
Yeah.
I mean, it surpasses anything
Yeah.
anybody else gets viewership for.
The Super Bowl definitely was the crowning achievement.
Yes.
If you could spend millions of dollars for a 30-second ad on YouTube, that was like, oh my God, we've made it, right?
Right.
This is going to bring us so much attention, and I'm hitting the button, man. It's
I'm just trying to help.
It's slow roll. No, I appreciate it. But you're right. YouTube and people that are getting millions of views a week or a month, it's just like you can't. It's just a new phenomenon, and again, I think it's these businesses that jump on this bandwagon and they utilize it to the best of their ability.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that are going to get the best products out there, the most user friendly, or they're going to get demolished.
Yeah,
they're going to give it to somebody, and that somebody's going to be like, "All right, man, you sent me some bullshit. You sent me a skateboard." And I'm really good with technology, and it took me 3 hours to figure out how to turn it on. This is stupid. And I mean, it's either going to skyrocket a product or it's going to
tank somebody.
Tank
or
it.
if they're smart, they take those ideas and they utilize them and change their product.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to, I mean, like Joe Rogan, did he say 120 million downloads a month now?
I have
oh,
no
that's
idea.
a Super Bowl a month just for him. If you want to think of it
Yeah.
that way, I mean, so that's
he gets 12 Super Bowls a year.
yeah. That's what he gets for viewerships, you know, and
That's what we get.
And he spent, oh God, wouldn't that be nice? But he does spend the first 8 to 10 minutes of his podcast just promoting the podcast stuff that the people who are sponsoring him and
yeah,
stuff like that.
and after a little while, I mean, nobody's stupid. After a little while, it's just like jumped 8 minutes.
Right. I had that little jumper. Man, I hear his music and I play it.
Yeah. All right, man. Is that it? Are we gonna try to get back? Are we gonna try to get back to one a week?
Gonna do my best to do
You're
that.
gonna do. You know what? He's gonna do his level best. Everybody.
Well, I got kids.
That's what we're doing.
I got kids.
It's
and
life.
I got life.
I got asked.
So do you.
I got asked to do to possibly do a music video.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa, that's kind of fucking awesome.
It's yeah.
By whom?
It is.
Can you say
awesome.
or not really?
No,
Rather
I'm
not?
not going to bring it up because I'm not going to do
For
it.
sure. Oh, you're not going to because
just like what you said when I said, "Oh, so we're going to do this once a week," and you're like, "Well, I got a family." Yeah, that's what I was. I was disconnected.
My hope is to do it, but
yeah, I mean, I think I might. To be totally honest, I should just call the person back and say, "I'm not interested. Thanks for the offer." But because of reality, because of the promise that I've made to my family, I want to spend more time with my, home and with my kids and with my wife. Then I should just say no, because I have enough stuff going on right now that I'm busy every day.
You're not underwater.
Yeah, but I'm not underwater. I'm not stressing out. Every time that there's something that really has to happen, if I'm behind the 8 ball, then I'm shorter with my kids. I have a much shorter fuse. I don't have the patience that I should have. So I want to keep those things in mind. The idea of shooting a music video for somebody
sounds neat.
It sounds neat, and I'm humbled that they would even ask. But I'm trying to keep in mind what's important
and what level of commitment you can make.
Yeah,
that's realistic.
Because I don't want to put out a shitty product.
Right.
So I wanted to keep those things in mind. And anyway, that's kind of the thing. I guess you're going to try to do. We're going to try to do podcast one a week.
Not? There's plenty of shit to talk about.
Okay, well, let me ask you this: do you have any idea what the topic should be next time?
Mm-mm.
Kids are going back to school.
Yep.
Halloween's right around the corner. Do you want to do a movie review? Would you like to do that? Would you like to?
God, I don't watch movies anymore. It's so dumb.
What the fuck is with you?
I don't know.
Do you want to do like a review of things
out.
to do in the area? No.
Yeah, we could do that because we should do that. Your lady and
you.
Oh,
by the way, this Friday isn't going to happen.
What the fuck? We're excited about it. So
hey.
Yes, tell people. We've been deciding that my lady and me and you lady and you.
Every other Friday, it's date night.
Yeah,
and we're going to different places.
And we each take turns
picking.
What?
If you have a place of entertainment, if it could be a comedy place, it could be a bar, it could be a place with pool tables, it could be a place we went to Bobber's.
Yeah.
No, we didn't, but I went to Bobber's a little while ago.
I thought you meant we by you and your lady.
All right, well, that's what I meant then.
Sugar Bottom.
Sugar Bottom. It was great. It was fun. I want to go back there. I want to actually go there, camp, have some drinks, be around the bonfire, go do some skinny dipping. Maybe not, because I don't want anything.
This whole thing.
I don't want to. Yeah, this whole thing. I don't want anything latch on to me, thinking, oh, it's a worm.
It will be white.
Yeah, translucent. Not transparent. Yeah, translucent.
Translucent. Your inner light will come through.
Right, but then you get to hear the live music. So if you are an establishment that really wants to kind of bring in the couples and it's fun and entertaining for the night, put that on my YouTube channel. Leave a comment below and invite us out.
Yeah.
But this Friday I can't because it's important. What I try to do is I try to have a date night with my kids. Not as often as I wish, but this Friday, me and my son are going to a baseball game.
Cool. Colonels?
Yes, the Colonels.
I love the Colonels.
So that's what we're doing.
Hey, I can take an easy fuck you anytime, so it's good. I know I'm bottom of the totem pole. Always have been, so it's good.
Not so much the bottom.
Second to last.
There's other people that are below you. All right. Well, anyway, thanks everybody for listening to us today, and hopefully you enjoyed the conversation. Next time we'll talk about something else.
It'll be fun.
And maybe we'll do a Facebook Live video. We'll see if and when we're actually doing it. I think it's going to have to be during the day, so probably not a Facebook Live.
Probably not.
Anyway, that's it for today on the Problem Screen Podcast. I'm Matt.
I am Todd.
And we'll see you later.
Adios.
Good night.